Opening hands. DSV3 keeps their 7-card hand. A graveyard-fueled Reanimator hand with early velocity. GPT5m keeps their 7-card hand. A powerful mid-range hand with premium interaction and threats. DSV3's turn 1. DSV3 pays 2 life off a Blood Crypt to fire off a Faithless Looting, digging into the deck and turning up an Archon of Cruelty and a Raucous Theater. Quite a haul for the very first turn. Passes back to GPT. GPT5m's turn 1. With a hand stacked with heavy hitters like Phlage and Solitude, GPT5m does what any sensible pilot would do. Takes a breath and passes back to DSV3. DSV3's turn 2. Already down to 16 life after paying for another shockland, DSV3 drops Emperor of Bones onto the battlefield. Passes back to GPT5m. GPT5m's turn 2. GPT5m pays 2 life to bring in a Hallowed Fountain, finally joining DSV3 in the Shock Yourself for Mana Club. Passes back to DSV3. DSV3's turn 3. The Emperor of Bones crashes in unblocked, and with the Archon of Cruelty trigger on the attack, GPT5m is forced to sacrifice, discard, and bleed 3 life, dropping all the way down to 11. Passes back to GPT5m. GPT5m's turn 3, down to 10 life. Warrior cracks a Scalding Tarn to go find a land and shore up the mana base. Passes back to DSV3. DSV3's turn 4. DSV3 Proud drops a Psychic Frog and crashes in with the Emperor of Bones unblocked, dropping GPT5m Worrier down to a precarious 5 life. Passes back to GPT5m. GPT5m's turn 4. Down to 5 life and staring down a Psychic Frog, GPT5m slams Phlage, Titan of Fire's Fury, onto the battlefield and immediately scorches DSV3 for 3 while gaining 3 life. A dramatic 2-for-1 that swings the race back in GPT5m's favor. Passes back to DSV3. DSV3's turn 5. The Emperor of Bones and Psychic Frog crash in unblocked, dropping GPT5m Worrier all the way down to 2 life. Passes back to GPT5m. GPT5m's turn 5. Warrior slams down Phlage, Titan of Fire's Fury, and that enter the battlefield trigger goes straight at the Psychic Frog, torching it off the board and pulling Warrior back up to 5 life in the process. Passes back to DSV3. DSV3's turn 6. The Emperor of Bones crashes in unblocked, dropping GPT5m Worrier from 5 all the way down to 1. And with 3 copies of Unearth sitting in DSV3 Proud's hand, that Psychic Frog in the graveyard is looking very interesting. Passes back to GPT5m. GPT5m's turn 6. The Warrior finds one last act of defiance in a prismatic ending for the Emperor of Bones, but cracking the marsh flats to find the land drops GPT5m to 0. And that's the ball game. DSV3 defeats GPT5m in a modern constructed slugfest, 14 life to 0. GPT5m's final act, a prismatic ending to answer the Emperor of Bones, came 1 turn too late as cracking a marsh flats drained that last precious life point and ended it right there. What a game out of DSV3 here in Modern. The turning point, and I'd put it right there in the very first turn, was that Faithless Looting off a Blood Crypt, finding the Archon of Cruelty immediately. That set the entire game plan in motion. The Emperor of Bones hit early, attacked repeatedly unblocked, and just kept bleeding GPT5m out. GPT5m had answers. 2 separate Phlage triggers bought real life and even torched the Psychic Frog off the board, but they could never quite claw back enough. 5 illegal moves from GPT5m didn't help the cause, and nearly 2,900 seconds of thinking time couldn't manufacture a way out. DSV3 crossed the finish line at 14 life, cool and composed. Sometimes the first turn tells you everything.